Welcome to the Global Pulse, a short video series where our experts break down a trending topic in international business and why it matters to you.
This has been a big week in US-China trade relations. Earlier this week, the US Department of Commerce blocked the export of some high-powered chips for laptops and phones to China. Then, just today, the US quadrupled its tariffs on electric vehicles to 100%. It also raised tariffs on a range of other goods such as solar cells, semiconductors, and lithium-ion EV batteries. In the case of batteries, tariffs were tripled to 25%. So let me start with the analysis of today's news, the tariffs. The administration's claim was that these tariffs are targeted at strategic sectors and that the goal is to give US industry time to catch up in green technology where China has a competitive advantage. In economics, this goes under the name of the infant industry argument for protectionism. And a classical argument against the infant industry argument, which will be familiar to policymakers in the developing world who have had to endure decades of lecturing from the US, is that such protections prevent the industry from ever growing up. Instead, protected firms find it more effective to lobby for ever more protection, and politicians usually oblige. In electric vehicles, Chinese automaker BYD has launched very good quality EVs that sell for around $10,000 to $12,000, which is almost a third of the cost of US EVs. President Biden made vague claims of cheating, cyber espionage, and unfair trade practices by Chinese EV makers as justification, and maybe there's something to that. However, industry analysts also point to other reasons why Chinese EVs cost less. First, these cars are designed for the mass market and not the luxury and performance segments that US producers have focused on. Second, BYD is vertically integrated and makes a large proportion of car parts in-house. And third, with more than 3 million vehicles sold worldwide, BYD's cars have the advantage of economies of scale. There was a good chance that without tariffs, the Chinese EVs would, to use Elon Musk's characterization, demolish every other car company in the world. So the pressure on the administration from car companies and labor unions was probably very strong. And it is, after all, an election year. There is, of course, the other side of the ledger. The immediate effects of the tariffs will be to keep EV prices high in the US and out of reach of mass market customers. Sadly, the tariffs will also further delay our transition to a green economy. Every day brings worse news about the climate, and I find the lack of resolve to take bold action extremely disheartening. On the earlier news about the blocked exports of US chips, this happened in an unusual way. The Department of Commerce revoked licenses that allowed Intel and Qualcomm to sell chips to some Chinese customers. Export controls on chips have been around for a while and were strengthened by the US Department of Commerce in 2023 to target the sale of advanced chips and chip-making equipment to China. Secretary of Commerce Gina Raimondo then stated the goal as being to limit China's, quote, access to advanced semiconductors that could fuel breakthroughs in artificial intelligence, end quote. These new steps are all about the AI race, which is now accelerating. Of course, there are limits to what the US can accomplish with unilateral controls, which is why the administration has been leaning on Japan, Korea, and others to also limit exports of advanced technologies to China. Even if the administration has some success with this, any gains would be short-lived. Just as the US is focusing its energy now on reviving its chip industry, China is focused on developing advanced chips and reducing its dependence on other countries. Anyone who doubts China's ability to do so needs to make a short visit to Shenzhen. Anyway, the game continues. And as always in trade policy, there will be winners and losers.